hello, folks. I have cheese on these crackers, and I have butter on these crackers. But that's not what this is about. It's about examining Miller High Life Light. And we are joined by me, Louisiana Beer Reviews, in the South, Keone from California, and up north, John, Sharon, and Chris Johnson. Can y'all hear me all right?
Yes, we can.
Okay. My bottle says October 12, 2015. Miller does Best By dates. They don't do Born On dates. You got any dates on your bottles and cans?
September 28th, 15 on the bottom.
Okay.
It says October 2015, so.
All right, and if you look at the code below, it'll tell you what brewery it came from. I'm at Brewery 04. I think Brewery 04 is, isn't that, Fort Worth? Let me check.
I can't get it. Sorry.
You can't get it, Keone?
My wife already checked at the liquor store and at the grocery store. They don't have
Did they have the regular High Life?
Yeah, regular High Life's everywhere.
No, I did notice something about this beer. It is one of the most flavorful light beers I've ever had, and it almost tastes like just the regular Miller High Life, but with less calories. I'm not tasting much difference.
It's 4.1% alcohol.
Yep.
110 calories. It was introduced in 1994. It's been around 21 years. It says, introduced in 1994, Miller High Life Light is the low-calorie version of Miller High Life, offering the same unpretentious attitude with fewer calories. The ingredients are water, barley malt, corn syrup, yeast, and hop extract. Okay. I remember around 1996, my uncle had put, or someone at the camp, we used to have a camp in Grand Isle, Louisiana, on the coast of the Gulf of Mexico, but it was destroyed by the Hurricane Katrina. But he had some Miller High Life in the fridge, and my uncle was saying, I said, why don't you just drink that? He said, oh, it's too rich. He said he tried it, it was too rich for him.
Wow.
In other words, he drinks Miller Lite.
Yeah.
But he said the High Life Light was too rich.
Up until a few years ago, I thought Miller Lite was the light beer of Miller, and I thought High Life was the regular. I didn't know nothing about Miller High Life Light until I started seeing it.
It's really strange. Now, John, we're going to go through all of that while we do this. John, Sharon, up there. I'm sorry, Keone had to leave us, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He could have stayed around talking about it, but I know he's irritated because he couldn't find it.
Yeah, then he's got the kids and stuff, so it's like, yeah.
Oh, earlier I was drinking this.
The Torpedo.
Let me say something about this beer. I bought it. It's a macro beer, I know that. But I bought it for $7.49 for a six-pack Saturday on sale at the grocery store. Now, isn't that a great deal?
That's a good price right there.
And this beer can go toe-to-toe with any IPA I've ever had. So why would I want to pay $3, $4, $5 a bottle for other ones when I can get this for $7.49 a six-pack, and the other ones aren't any better? Now, I had the...
You got things ridiculously cheap there. Though a six-pack of that Torpedo right there runs us about $15 for a six-pack.
Probably close to that around here.
Yeah.
If you'll ever find a six-pack of it.
So if you saw it for $7.49 a six-pack, you'd be buying some, is what you're trying to tell me.
I'd be buying more. I'd be buying six-pack after six-pack of that if it was that cheap.
So it's a great deal. Well, back to what we're looking at today. Yeah, you were saying it was fascinating to you about the light beer thing with Miller. Well, Miller basically invented light beer for all intents and purposes. They didn't actually invent it because there were some brands before 1973. They had some strange little beer company, Gablinger's Light or they call it, I think, Gablinger's Diet Beer, which had no sales really. And then what happened was Meisterbrau. A small
Meisterbrau became what Miller Lite was, right?
Yeah, Meisterbrau came out with a beer called Light, L-I-T-E, from Meisterbrau in 1967. But they marketed it as like a diet beer for women. Like the advertisement showed a woman in leotards working out. And people bought it, but not too many people bought it. So the company, Meisterbrau, wasn't doing well, and they got bought out by Miller, actually. I think in 72. Almost certain it was 72 they got bought out. So Miller didn't care about their other brands too much, but the guy that ran Miller, he had an idea that this light beer had potential. Yep. So Miller worked on it, probably improved the flavor and everything, and they test marketed it as L-I-T-E from Miller, right? Remember that, John, a light by Miller?
Yeah.
1973 in a few cities, and it was very positively received. So in 75, they rolled out Light on television. You remember all those ads that were on every Monday Night Football?
Yeah.
It's great, less filling. But they rolled it out. They rolled it out as a man's beer.
I still watch those on YouTube.
Yeah, if you remember right, in 1989 when Christmas Vacation come out, don't you remember Cousin Eddie standing outside his RV drinking that Meisterbrau beer?
Yeah. Yeah, well, I was going to talk a little bit more about that. So Light became the big brand. And then Schlitz hurried up and put out Schlitz Light, which was never too popular.
Wow.
Although they did run
commercials. I thought I've only had Schlitz malt liquor. That's the only one I've had.
Oh no, they had a whole line. But
yeah,
we get regular Schlitz here. But not Schlitz malt liquor in my town anymore. But anyway, they had Schlitz Light, and it lasted for from 75 to 2010, but it was never super popular. They did run TV commercials, though. They had the second major one was, Natural Light, which came out in 77. That was the flagship light beer for Anheuser-Busch.
Nope.
And John probably remembers those old commercials where you can call me Ray or you can call me Jay, but you better not call me Johnston. Remember those?
But that actually won a bronze medal at the World Beer Cup.
What, Light? Natural Light?
Natural Light, yeah.
So then they came out with Budweiser Light in 82, which became the premier light beer. We all know that, the #1 light beer. But like John was saying, they did come out with a Meisterbrau Light in 1986 or 84. They came out with Milwaukee's Best Light in 86. So they just kept adding all these light beers, and then Meisterbrau was killed off in 2005, but in 1994, they decided to come out with a light version of High Life. And then John was talking about Miller Genuine Draft Light.
Yeah.
That was discontinued because they reformulated it as MGD 64.
Which is a real watered-down beer.
Yeah. And now it's known as Miller 64. But yeah, you remember those old MGD Light.
Yeah.
But anyway,
it didn't last long around here.
It didn't make it. Miller High Life Light debuted in 1994. I bet you they never had a TV commercial for this beer.
Nope.
I like the glass.
High Life was advertised all over, but Light, non-existent.
Used to not get it around here. But after Miller Genuine Draft and Miller Genuine Draft Light died out in my area, they really started to push the High Life Light. And now it is everywhere. So probably in the last 5 years, right, around here. So you can go to Walmart and get a 12-pack of bottles like I did Sunday for $6.49 right now, which is a good bargain for 12 beers.
It's about 7 here, so it's not that much more than you.
I stopped by I don't know if you know what a Myers department store is, about like a Walmart, but a little bit better. But they only had the 30 packs. So I thought, well, I'm going to run to Walmart. Well, Walmart only had 30 packs too, so I just picked out, we'll drink them 30 packs for like $16.95 plus tax. That's pretty cheap for a 30 pack of decent beer.
You had the same problem I did. When I went to my grocery store, all the liquor stores were out of them. I went to my grocery store and all they had was 30 packs. Like the 12 packs, 6 packs were out.
Yeah.
Now around here,
you can't buy 12 pack around here. It's only 30 packs.
Yeah.
Around here, we get them in 6 packs of bottles or tall cans, I think. We get 12 packs of bottles or cans. We get 30 packs of cans, of course. You know, the 30 pack. Right now they got it running, like I told you, about $15.99 for the 30 pack.
Yeah.
And another thing we get here is the quart cans. I don't know if you get those quart cans where you live.
Yes, no.
We get the quart cans at the gas station. They're always sold as singles, and they're usually about $1.49. Sometimes they'll have big sales. They have quart cans of High Life, which sell like mad. They have quart cans of High Life Light, which does well, and they have quart cans of Milwaukee's Best Ice.
Yep.
And the guy told me, the distributor told me, they couldn't get rid of Miller High Life Ice. I mean, Milwaukee's Best Ice. They couldn't get rid of it in 12 packs, 30 packs, 6 packs. They couldn't give it away. But when they started selling those single quart cans, that every time he goes check, it's empty. You got to refill two rows of it.
Wow.
Yeah, we get all 3 of those quart cans here: the Miller High Life Light, regular, and Milwaukee's.
But you know,
I think all we get here is 40s, the bottles.
Oh.
You don't get that here. Nope.
Oh. Actually it was 5 years ago. We used to get 40s of Miller High Life. Then just last year they disbanded them. Now you can only get tall boys and quarts and then the cases.
We get quart bottles of Miller High Life.
Yep.
Those stinking plastic ones, and we get the quart cans. But Miller High Life Light, you're going to only see it in 12-ounce cans or bottles. Maybe they have the tall cans, but I don't know if I'm right about that. But definitely,
I don't know what they were thinking with putting beer in plastic bottles. I really don't know. Maybe you would have more of an insight into that, but I think it's the worst idea ever.
Well, they do it in Europe. They've been doing it in Europe for a long time. In Russia and Eastern Europe, they sell tons of beer in plastic bottles. So it's like a big thing over there, okay?
Yeah.
And I guess it's cheaper, right? So they decided to try to do it here. I don't like it either, but they must have figured out that it wouldn't really hurt the sales too much, and apparently people still buy it. Now, I don't know. I'd rather have glass because you can go ting, ting, ting on the side, you know. And,
Not only that, but to me, I think the plastic also affects the taste. I like the taste of the beer out of a can or a bottle, glass bottle.
Plastic affects the taste? I don't know about that.
To me, it seems something's off.
Yeah, they only...
I would think it'd have to affect the taste a little bit, that plastic to the bottle.
Yeah.
Well, what do y'all think about this particular beer? I don't know if it's won any awards. Let me see. Let me look at the Miller Lite, the Miller website. Let's see.
I didn't see much about it. I looked up a little information. I think it's a tremendous beer. I mean,
it won a silver medal in 2000, and it won a silver medal in 2004 at the World Beer Cup.
Okay.
So how do you think? You're saying you think it's a real good light beer in that category?
I think it's a real good light beer. I almost kind of enjoy it. I mean, I'm a big Miller Lite fan, but I think this is comparable to Miller Lite, maybe just a little bit better.
So how do you think it holds up with Coors Light?
I think it's got a little bit more body, a little bit more taste than Coors Light. I would prefer this over Coors Light.
How about you, Chris?
I'm going to have to go ahead and agree with John. I'm not a big fan of Bud Light, Coors Light, or even Miller Lite. That's probably the only thing I'm not a fan of. But everything else John said, I agree fully. Miller High Life Light is it just has more flavor than most light beers. And it doesn't taste much like beer to me, too. Like, the alcohol is lighter, but the taste is the taste is not changed from a Miller High Life. And what else was I gonna say about it? Yeah, it just. Yeah, it's just one of the better light beers. Oh yeah, I know what I was gonna say now. The only other light beer that holds its own is Heineken Light to me, I think.
Oh yeah, well, that's going to cost you twice as much.
Definitely.
Now the glass does matter. I poured this in a tulip glass, and there's not a bit of lacing. But last night when I drank one, I poured it in a flute glass, and look, half that glass was full of foam, and that foam just ran down, and you could taste the hops in that foam. But
yeah, I still got quite a bit of lacing on the side of my Miller High Life Light glass.
I mean, look at this glass. This glass has been sitting here for like 4 minutes, and it's still got lacing. Miller High Life, both are foamy, the light and the regular.
yeah, Miller, I had a Tabasco flute glass, and that's where all that lacing was congregating. But in this wide brim glass, it just doesn't build up. So I don't guess it affects the aroma or the flavor. Now, the smell, to me, is sort of like typical light beer, but maybe a little richer. That's probably why my uncle didn't like it, because he wanted beer that didn't have taste in it.
He just wanted the drunk.
I think he just likes sipping on it. Like, you know what I mean? He'll just sip on it all day, and he just didn't want anything that had this rich aroma and body to it.
Like,
It's got a real nice body to it. That's why.
Usually when I go to pour a beer the first time, the head is thick. After I leave it sitting, the head dies down. With this, no matter how many times I pour it, this head is so thick when it first starts, it all comes down to there.
Yeah, it's really foamy. What do you say, John, about the body?
I think it's got a rich body. I mean, it's real pleasing to the mouth. I mean, I just think it's an overall. I think it's a good beer. I'm glad it's made its way back to my area for however long it's going to hang around.
Yeah, I bought a 12-pack, and really, I guess I would buy Miller High Life over this because that's even richer and fuller body. But to tell you the truth, this really does the trick for a light beer.
Yeah.
And it's not a big seller because you can't get it everywhere, and heck, a lot of people don't know about it. Maybe around here they do because it's pretty popular, in this area. Well, you can drink them all day. You barely feel it, I bet you.
Nope.
Yeah.
You just wouldn't get, I don't think you'd get too ripped up. If you were going to like a football game, or this would be a good tailgating beer, I think.
Yep.
Yep, it would be. Exactly.
If it's really hot outside and you're drinking a light beer like this, let's say you're going all day, whether you're working or you're at a football game or you're at a concert or whatever, they make these kind of beers so people can session more of them. That's its main thing,
It's not a connoisseur beer.
Yep.
It's not a...
Kind of like the Budweiser
not a gourmet beer. What?
Kind of like the Budweiser commercial said. This one's a beer to be drank, not fussed over.
You're right.
Yeah.
But for that style, a beer to be drank, it really does do the trick. And of course, I like to drink all the fancy beers. I went to a party Saturday, and we were drinking all kinds of stuff like this thing from Three Floyds. They were telling me about that from Louisville area.
No, they're from Munster, Indiana. Up by Chicago.
Oh, right. That's right. Excuse me. Up there, close to the Chicago,
Yeah.
right across the Indiana line.
Yes.
It was some special Three Floyds IPA. It was called something like. It was a real expensive one that they brought back. It was a fantastic IPA, and I made a video, and I'm going to post it later. We're talking about this and that. Huh?
Wasn't it zombie dust, was it?
One of those kind of beers. It was fancy now, but and they were saying, oh yeah, this can go toe to toe with Pliny the Elder, and I said, well, I never had Pliny the Elder. Oh, it's awesome,
If, to my knowledge, if I'm correct, Pliny the Elder is one of the most expensive craft beers, isn't it?
No, it's not very expensive. I've had 4 or 5 of them. They're not overwhelmingly expensive.
Oh,
It's hard to get.
okay.
It's just hard to get.
But yeah, but the point is, those beers are really contemplative. Like, you want to sit there and think about them. This one, I don't think you could pull out too many aroma notes or flavor notes or say it tastes like mango, papaya, coriander, cloves, horse blanket, cat pee, blah blah blah. Like, but I mean, it does taste like beer, right? So,
yeah. I mean, it's like you said. There's not 20 good things you're going to say about it, but there's not 20 bad things you're going to say about it. I mean, what it is, I mean, it's a beer. I mean, it's a light beer.
Well, craft beer fans to realize, they say this isn't beer, but this is what a beer originally tasted like. It's what beer, the regular beer, will always taste like, no matter how many IPAs they produce, no matter how many cherry this and honey this. This is beer right here.
well, maybe, yeah. Well, for at least 40 years now, I guess.
Yeah.
It was stronger back before 40 years ago. But yeah, John and Chris, you're both right.
Yeah.
Hi, Chloe. Use your door.
This is a working man's beer. That's what you got. I mean,
Right. I wouldn't bring it to a dinner party where people were dressed real nice. I'd probably bring the torpedo.
Yeah.
Or or I'm trying to think, something like, or maybe even a Samuel Adams Boston Lager. But if I was going to a cookout, I might bring the High Life. Of course, people in my family would say something like, "You brought the cheap stuff." I'd say, "Oh Lord," because that's what they would say, because they're not going to sit there and
somewhere.
They're not going to drink it and say, "Well, let me compare it to the Miller Lite and just see." They're not like my first cousin. He's not going to do a blind taste test, and he's just going to say, I'm drinking Miller Lite because everybody knows it's a premium beer, and he wouldn't want his friends to make fun of him and say he was drinking a cheap beer. I mean, that's how a lot of people are. I used to tell my daddy, what my daddy used to drink, I said, why are you paying this much money for Coors Light when you could go buy Keystone Light, which I bet you couldn't even tell the difference between them? And he would say, well, it was no way he was going to let his friends come over and have his fridge full of Keystone Light.
I like Keystone too, and that's beside the fact that Stone Cold promotes it. That's one of the reasons I like it.
And I had my dad.
I don't think you could do a side-by-side comparison, tell the difference between either one of them.
Yeah.
It's certainly not. It may not. Okay, it may not be better than Miller Lite, but it's definitely not inferior.
Yeah.
You think it's inferior? No way. It's got maybe more body.
Yep.
And there's no off. I know what I wanted to say. There's no off flavors or aromas with it, is there? Are there?
No.
It's very balanced.
I remember when my father lived down in this town. When he moved, I'll still go see him, but he moved about 40 miles away. But his friend would come over. Now, his friend would always try to save money, so his friend would drink Natural Light. My daddy would tease him and say, why are you drinking that trash? You just cheap. You don't want to spend money. And his friend Warren would say, well, it's good to me, And I was saying, right on, you keep drinking that, Warren. You keep drinking that stuff. That stuff's good. I've had it before. It's just as good as stinking Coors Light, even though it's half the price. I was trying to take up for him, although I like Coors Light, but I was trying to explain, why would you want to pay twice the amount or 35 to 40% more for a beer that tastes practically the same?
Right.
Yep. Exactly.
I think you could trick a lot of Coors drinkers with Keystone Light, don't you think?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to say about the working man thing. I do landscaping work, like cutting down trees, hauling brush, chopping up wood, stuff like that. And when you see big guys like that, they're drinking Bud, they're drinking Miller, they're just drinking beer to session. You come up to them with an arrogant bastard and say, hey, taste test this, they're probably going to make fun of you. They're going to be like, what the hell is that?
Yeah. I'll tell you a real funny story real fast. My neighbor across the street, she's a beer drinker, man. This lady's going to be 70 years old this year. Well, anyway, her husband died 20 years ago, and I feel bad for her. She lives alone, and I bring her beer sometimes as a present. So I've been doing this for years, right? So one time I said, I'm gonna step it up, man. I'm stepping up my game. So I brought her a 6-pack of Samuel Adams Cherry Wheat.
Yeah.
She was like, that's not too good. Well, actually, she's right. It really isn't too good. But
Yeah, cherry just. Ugh.
so I said, all right, okay, well, forget that. So about a year later, I brought her a 6-pack of Torpedo. They had it on sale for $7.49. I don't know why what this is was $7.49. But I brought it over there. I said, try this Torpedo Double IPA or Extra IPA. Well, she drank it. She was like, I said, how did you like that, Miss Lynn? She said, yeah, it was pretty good, but I like the ice house that you normally bring, or the natural ice. You know, why don't you bring the good stuff back? I said, okay, and I never tried to introduce her to any more like craft beers. She just didn't like it. She didn't hate
a regular macro flavor girl. She just liked the taste of macro, no craft.
Oh, I bought her a 18-pack of Miller High Life. She was like, oh, it's so good. Ice House, she loves that stuff. Natural Ice, she loves that stuff. She's like, oh, that's really good beer. So keep bringing the good beers, not, this kind of bad stuff. And a lot of people, like John says, the beer snobs, they would just ridicule her and put her down.
Yep. I wish all the beer snobs could have heard her because she's actually tasting beers for the first time and she's saying macro beers taste better than craft beers. I wish I could just shove it in their face.
Yeah, and I can guarantee you she has never gotten on the internet to research beer, right? She who owns it. She doesn't care who owns it, what the history of the beer is, or none of that. But she'll be out there working in the yard with that, weed eater or cutting the grass, getting hot and sweaty, and she'll call me up. I have no beer in this house. Like about 2 years ago, I said, okay, I'll be at the front door. So she came to my porch, and we sat on the porch, and those rocking chairs. I said, I got this beer called Red Dog. I've never had Red Dog. Let me try it. I said it was ice cold, and she was drinking. Oh, it's so good. Ooh. And I'm thinking to myself, boy, I know some people on the internet that would roll their eyes and say, what a pitiful shame. But
that's actually still available in some areas.
She just knew that she liked it. It was good. What's wrong with that,
Oh, yeah, it's like I used to like Corona Extra before they told me I wasn't supposed to like it. What'd you say, John? That Red Dog up there?
That Red Dog's still available in some areas.
It's still made, but you can forget it in Louisiana. It's gone.
Yeah.
Gone. That's one of the best beers.
It's like I don't really like Budweiser or Miller High Life Light anymore because Rate Beer says it's wrong.
Yeah. Rate Beer really dogged it up bad.
What did they give Miller High Life Light? I'm sure it's horrible.
A 2 for style, and that was it.
A 2.
Beer Avenue give it a 54, and Bros was a 0.
Oh no, it's way better than that. Is it gourmet? No.
Yeah.
Is it the best beer in the world? No. Is it world class? No. On the other hand, does it make any such claim? No, it does not.
Yeah.
No.
It's like a McDonald's spicy chicken sandwich for 99 cents. It's something to eat.
Yeah.
But then it's not bad. We went to the baseball game the other day and we ate one. Now, like Tom the Beer Whisperer says, he only gets aggravated when people try to say that a McDonald's 99-cent chicken sandwich is as good as something you would get at a fancy restaurant. Well, that would be true because that would be kind of a stupid thing to say because everybody knows that a McDonald's value menu item is not gourmet, but it's something to eat. And everybody knows that Miller High Life is not Pliny the Elder. But then what idiots would even say that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's still
would go good
to drink on a hot day.
This beer would go excellent with a Crystal Burger.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, or Church's spicy fried chicken.
Yeah, or White Castle.
And it
You
went
just
well
became
with
my new best friend, John. You just became my new best friend.
and it paired well with those saltine crackers with butter and the one with cheese and Sriracha sauce. Now, one more thing I'm going to say. We can't go on forever.
Yeah.
I do not think you could trick a Miller Lite person into thinking this was Miller Lite, and I'm going to tell you why. I think it's got too much body, and it's got too rich of a flavor, and they would automatically say this is not Miller Lite.
They would be thinking High Life if they've had it.
Yeah, they would know it's not Miller Lite. It's got more flavor and body than Miller Lite.
Yes, it does.
And I
It's
don't
got a whole lot more bigger body and different flavor than that.
Way richer. I'm tasting not sweet as Miller High Life, but way sweeter than Miller Lite and way cornier too. It's got more of a corn flavor.
Right. So if you want to get a good, inexpensive light beer, I would say reach for Miller High Life Light, or actually reach for Milwaukee's Best Light, which also has some interesting flavor and aroma notes for a light economy beer, and I think y'all know that.
Yeah.
It's strange. The best beer Miller makes might be Red Dog, and you can barely find it.
They still sell them in 12 packs, but that's it here in Michigan.
Best beer Coors makes.
Packs, no cans, no 24 packs, just 12 packs.
Yeah, and the best beer Coors makes might be Coors Extra Gold.
Yeah, and we don't get that.
So try to find that. You might get Pliny the Elder easier than Coors Extra Gold.
I'm satisfied with Coors Banquet, though. I find that's a pretty good body beer.
I understand that. You ever had Extra Gold?
I've had it once, but it wasn't here in Michigan.
I don't guess I've ever had an opportunity to have that.
It's interesting product.
Yeah.
It's not the greatest thing, but it's got something. It's something about it that's makes it a little bit better than Coors Banquet, but forget it because they barely sell it. I don't know if. And now we're gonna shut this off. And I appreciate everybody watching. And also, if you go to your local store, you might notice that there's new Foster's cans on the market.
I didn't see those.
Yeah, there's new Foster's cans for the blue lager and the green ale, and they're redesigned, and they're a lot fancier now.
Are they still the oil cans, or are they slimmer or taller?
Still the same size, 25.4 ounce cans, but they're a lot different labels. I just noticed them.
I'll have to go to Wine and Spirits because that's where they sell Foster's. I'll check it out.
Yeah, they're kind of wacky, kind of beach-oriented, sort of like a summer theme type thing. Australian summer, of course, even though it's winter time in Australia right now, but you know, most Americans don't know that. All right, well, thank you for joining me. To me, it was an interesting examination, and I think that the Samuel Adams Cream Stout is going to really be interesting.
Yeah.
But I hate to say that because you can't do it. I feel like I'm rubbing it in.
If I get it last second, you know I'm going to be jumping on the exam.
Boy, no joke. Any last comments?
If you can find it, it's a good light beer.
I got to say, if you ain't a fan of light beer, but you're looking, if somebody has it, I would recommend Miller High Life Light because it is the best light beer in my opinion.
Huh. Best. That's pretty good. And John, you're not going to mind drinking the other 29, huh?
Well, let me see. I'm down to 26 now, so it's not too bad.
So that 30-pack ain't going to last a whole long time.
Probably not.
All right, thanks, folks.
I might be guilty of that too. So.
Well, all right. Thank you, folks, for watching this video production.